By the way, Bobby, if you ever need to have a conversation about how I never shut up, just ask Rochelle.
Oh, there you go. All right.
Right, Rochelle?
Never.
All right. Hello, Miami Dolphin fans, and welcome to a very special episode of Fitz Talk Sports Network. I'm Bobby Melendez, joined by the one and only on vacation, Fitz Stanza, for this breaking news episode. Tua Tagovailoa, the wait is over. He has signed an extension, 4 years, $212.4 million. Evan, you just found out. Here's the guaranteed. What a pretty face right behind you.
Yeah.
167 million guaranteed. When you hear those numbers, what is your initial reaction?
What I expected. If you remember, you and I had discussed this so many times throughout the season, how I said it was probably going to be a 4-year, 220. I wouldn't want to give him more than 150 guaranteed. You want to know what? 167, 212, 8 million one way, 17 million the other way. I can live with that contract because we haven't had the exact details. We don't know if this is really a 2-year extension with options. We don't know really the breakdown of how it's going to work and what's going to happen with the cap just yet. But overall, it secures what we know. And if you saw anything that was going on the first 2 days of training camp, those two quarterbacks that are behind him are not the answer. So this is something they had to do. They didn't really have many options. Now, there was no real trade market for Tua. But at the same time, if we're in a win now mode and everyone from Teron Armstead to Jalen Ramsey to Tyreek Hill to everyone saying go pay that man, and everyone saying like this guy's not getting paid in the grand scheme of things, by the end of next season, he will probably not even be in the top 5 of highest paid quarterbacks because it's going to keep on going up. So if the team is in this window, this contract is worth every single penny.
I mean, and for me, looking at these numbers, we talked about this. He said the market is the market. Obviously, he was trying to get that Jared Goff, Trevor Lawrence money. And the news was, or the rumors were, that the Dolphins and Chris Greer did not believe, hey, you know what? You're not really at that market. We don't feel comfortable going in that market. This contract for 4 years, $212.4 million, gives them about an average of $53.1 million. That is just behind Jared Goff. That is behind Burrow and Lawrence. The total guarantees are the highest in the NFL. Even though he's behind, it's the 8th highest in the NFL. To me, honestly, even for fans that were like, I'm not sold on to, I don't feel comfortable giving him a deal, blah, blah, blah. I get it. This is an absolutely fair contract to me. I don't think when I look at this, I'm like, this is a bargain. Now, we'll see how it turns out. We'll see how the end of the season goes, et cetera, et cetera. But this here is a win for Chris Greer in the front office, don't you think?
Yeah, no. The only thing I'm disappointed in the front office is except for the exception of Jalen Waddle, they seem to wait too long on contracts. This may have been an exception because of Tua's injury history, but at the same time, I think they waited a little too long. I think they could have gotten it a little bit less had they dealt with it, similar to what they could have done with Christian Wilkins, or what they're probably going to have to figure out with Javon Holland coming up. Like, they shouldn't be waiting. Like, the same, look at Jalen Waddle's contract. They did it at the exact right time because look at what's happening after him, right? Like, people are now going to sign bigger deals than him. Look, CeeDee Lamb is sitting out. Imagine Jalen Waddle chose to sit out. So for me, for the foundation of this team was built around Tua. How many times have you and I and everyone on this network talked about how this team was built around Tua and what his skill set was, now how Mike McDaniel's adjustments never balanced with another quarterback. And because of the way I always said to you that Chris Greer, Mike McDaniel, and Tua are tied to the hip, how long have I been saying that? You have to give him this deal. And in the grand scheme of things, the deal is fair because that's what quarterbacks are getting paid. Like, he is right. The market is the market. There's a reason why Jalen Waddle got his deal around $28 million. There's a reason why Christian Wilkins got his deal around where he did, because that's where players of their ilk and their stature are getting paid. So it is what it is. Is it a lot for a quarterback? Sure, but I think all contracts and all sports
Yep.
are going up in that way, right? Like when you look at the contract, you say, well, Patrick Mahomes, that $450 million 10-year deal, that looks ridiculous now. But by the end of next season or mid-season this year, they're going to restructure his
They're going to update
contract. And
that
I
deal, yeah.
guarantee you, he's going to be the highest paid quarterback by the end of this season. And you don't think Dak Prescott now is going to be looking at it, and then you're going to see C.J. Stroud. So in the grand scheme of things, they had to do it because if they want to win, you have Tua. If you don't want to win, then what are you doing with signing all these players, right? You brought in all these veterans. Like people have been talking about a training camp, how they're bringing in all these veteran players, how they have 13 players now over 30. 2 years ago, they had no one under 30, over 30. Now they have 13 players over 30 because they want a veteran team that will help them take the next step in the playoffs. So in the grand scheme of things, I'm happy because now it's over with.
That's the most important thing.
And it'll give something for Steve Malloy to complain about. It's all good.
Oh man. Let's see here. Raphael in the house reporting the deal. I was like Joe Biden at the concert. I look lost. I'm not happy at all. It was December 12th game at SoFi, and I was embarrassed.
Can't go backwards.
NFL trend of paying for 1 year of average play.
Let me ask them all a question, Bobby.
Yeah.
What is the alternative? Wasting a year, making a play on the option, be miserable, and then if Penix works out, then you go get Kirk Cousins, who's an older quarterback, because he played well with Mike McDaniel many years ago in Washington. You had no choice. There's a reason why Goff got the contract. You think Goff is worth every single penny? No, but they had no choice because Detroit wants to win. So you need to go with the quarterback that has been benefiting you at the time.
No, and that's the thing too. If Tua was not holding out, he was holding in. He was obviously taking, some time. He was taking some reps, but he wasn't going to play every rep. And it was starting, even for one day, obviously starting to become a distraction where questions are being asked the players, at the coaches, and everything else. This deal needed to be done. And before the season, because Tua probably could have held it out. He wasn't going to risk getting injured and not being paid the money he thinks he deserves. And honestly, again, this is not at Trevor Lawrence and Jared Goff money. This is not Joe Burrow money. This is right under them. And guess what? Whether you like it or not, Tua has performed better than most of them. So for him to be paid that amount, only if to a 4-year deal at $53 million, at 100 and I don't have it now, I just lost it, $167 million guaranteed. You know how much that Trevor Lawrence got guaranteed? 200 plus million. Yeah. So I don't see the problem. You're absolutely right. What's the alternative? He doesn't play to start the season. You have Skyler or Mike White. The season's a joke. The season's lost. There's no point in wasting money on any tickets. Now I'm not worried about next year. I'm worried about this year. This year, now you've secured him. Now that's done. Okay, you got him in a pretty reasonable deal going in, like you said, next season or the season after. This deal will look like nothing because guess what? It is the 8th highest deal in the NFL, the 8th. So once Pat Mahomes restructures his contract, people go, damn, this is a bargain.
And this is actually the only thing he broke historic is this. They actually wrote that in over a 4-year period, it is the highest per average in history of a 4-year deal. Because the other one's more 5-year deals. So it averages out to be higher from a per year basis over 4 years. But in the end, what did you want? If we look at the way this team is structured right now, and they say it was a reset year, this is not a reset year. They know they have a greater chance of doing well this year than they did last year. And if they don't do it this year, next year your window is going to be much closer to getting close. You don't know what's going to happen with Tyreek Hill, even though he says he wants to be a Dolphin. You have to do what you got to do. And right now, they did the right thing. In the end, it was a dark cloud on the team, and now they can go move forward. Now the team is built foundationally. Now maybe we can go complain about the offensive line again.
Yeah, absolutely. Now we go back to the actual problem with this football team,
which is the offensive
line. Yes. And the good thing is that you and your family are down in Florida. You're going to be attending training camp and a couple preseason games. Is that right?
We're hoping to go to the preseason game. I'm just trying to figure out how, because of Hank was nice enough to send me 2 tickets. If I want to go all 5, I have to figure out where the other 3 are going to go. And we're going to figure out which training camp. This training camp only starts this week. As of Sunday, you can start going. I might wait a little bit because I will admit when I went last year, if you do the open air stay, like where they do the practice facility, it is really hot. I might do the one where they actually do inside a Hard Rock, because there actually is one training camp practice inside a Hard Rock, which might be a little bit cooler. Because I will tell you this, when we went last year, that was a scorcher. Like they are burning up on that field. But no, we'll figure that all out.
That's awesome, man. And what a time to go, especially now that deal's done. And it's the other thing too, you just said it, and I was just reading it. The players wanted this done. The players were advocating for him. Will of 305 Sports Now. And guys, if you haven't yet, go check out 305 Sports Now for amazing Miami sports content, Hurricanes, Dolphins, Heat, etc. He's the guy, man. He has some great stuff on there. Great friend to the channel and to myself, and to Fitzdanza as well. But he has it here. He's been successful in this offense, and the players back him. He's a locker room leader. That's the most important thing. You don't want to cause a rift between you and your players. And you could feel, look, I say he's a good quarterback. He could play great. Anybody could think whatever they want. He's not the franchise guy, blah, blah, blah. The fact of the matter is this team is better with him than without him right now. There's no one you could bring in at this moment that will do better for your team than Tua Tagovailoa. And now you set the thing for 4 years where you're comfortable, where this will become a problem in 3 years again, or whatever. You don't have to worry about that anymore.
And as you probably know, Bobby, from my perspective, in the end, I think Tua will do what he needs to do. The injuries bug has to go away. Last 2 years have really hurt us. But in the end, where I stand, where this team can go. I think Anthony Weaver is going to figure himself out. I think Tua is going to do what he needs to do with those receivers. But in the end, we now need our head coach to be a head coach, not a offensive coordinator who, when the defense is on the field, he's looking at his tablet, trying to figure out what the next offensive play is. I want us to be a foundational team. We now need this is year 3 of this process. There's no more excuses. You have your quarterbacks, you have your receivers, you have a plethora of running backs. You do have an offensive line that is capable, because they did it last year with Butch Berry, to develop. You have a tight end. You're building up the defensive line because you now brought back Ogba, who I think will be motivated to get another contract next year. You have Calais Campbell. You have Steeler. You have the secondary. You have a linebacking core that's more rough and tough between Long and Brooks. The only excuse right now is, can they bring this together? And who brings it together? It's a head coach. So I expect Mike McDaniel to do Dan Campbell type of things, because I know we all love Dan, where he now just doesn't focus on one area, and we now do the right things to build as a team this upcoming season. So Tua was the last key foundational piece. Now go out and do what you need to do. The only thing I would do between now and the end of the season, before the season starts, is I would shore up Tyreek, because I think that will even motivate him a little bit more. I think that even before Holland, I would just restructure Tyreek before the season starts. That's one thing I would do next.
Yeah, and Raphael just stated, I was just going to talk about this. This is the largest contract in franchise history, in Miami Dolphins history. I'm not surprised, especially because it's a quarterback. If it could have been Ryan Tannehill or whomever, if they were the starting quarterback of the Dolphins right now, and they signed it would be the largest in franchise history just because of the market. It is still not the largest contract for a quarterback. $53.1 million average value of the contract places Tagovailoa third among the least highest paid quarterbacks, behind Trevor Lawrence and Joe Burrow, both at $55 million. Now, and then again, $167 million guaranteed, 8th amongst quarterbacks. That's the number. That was the number that I was and I know you were as well, that we're like, that's the number we're focused on. And again, I am actually surprised it's that low. Let me see here. Now, the other thing to make sure too, or we got to figure out or look is there any incentives? Is there any kind of loopholes in this deal, or injuries or whatever? How many games he plays? We'll see that as it goes on. But again, my initial reaction, I like the deal. I'm cool with it. I actually feel very good about it compared to what I thought it was going to end up being, because they waited so long at this point. Sure.
Absolutely. So, for me, in the end, it meets what the requirements are for this team to be successful this season. And let's not forecast what's going to happen in a year or two. Let's just focus on the here and now. And Mike McDaniel knows he cannot win without Tua. And good on Stephen Ross. Good on Chris Greer. Did it take too long? Yes. But in the end, they got the deal done. So Let's just move on and let's enjoy this. Anyone who comes out and says, and when you, like you always like to say, we're not going to tell anybody how to fan. But if anyone comes out and says this is an overpaid deal, I don't know, or that he was overpaid for what he is getting, then these are people who are never going to be happy. They're just, no matter what, they're just totally against this player. They're totally against, because in the end, I'll do a comparison because I know you got into it. Do you think now, when you look back on it, when Sergei Bobrovsky signed that $10.5 million contract, he was one of the highest paid goaltenders ever in the NHL. And in the first couple of years of the contract, it didn't look very good. Do you think the Florida Panthers care now what that contract looks like? The guy hadn't won anything in Columbus, didn't win anything in Philadelphia, but he had a pedigree of doing certain things, and he was a talented goaltender. Do you not think now the Florida Panthers are ecstatic that they paid that goaltender $10.5 million, the highest paid goalie ever, to win a Stanley Cup? Get over it.
And I think Ralph's saying that, he's a root for Tua. In his eyes, he's not a franchise quarterback, and I get it. Again, everybody has a different opinion of him as a quarterback. But that's right there. The Dolphins fan is like, look, you know what? I would have preferred not to do it, but for Ralph's case, but I'm going to support him as a Dolphins quarterback. He is the Dolphins quarterback for the next 4 years. You could go into this season worried about what's going to happen on the field and not what's going to be like, oh, he's going to step out for blah, 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 blah. Again, in a perfect world, we'd have a very good backup where we're like, hey, if he did get hurt, at least we have this guy. We don't have that. And then you're adding that thing of, oh, well, if you don't sign him, well, this guy could possibly play. Now we don't have to worry about that round one more. We took that concern away. Now it's just let's hope he stays healthy and has the best year yet. And especially the most important would be wins in the playoffs. That's what we give a damn about.
Absolutely.
But I know you are on vacation with the beautiful family of yours, my friend, my brother. I appreciate you. I know we haven't been on. Yes, pretty boy. Tua has signed a deal. 4 years, $212.4 million, $167 million guaranteed, largest in franchise history, but eighth highest among guaranteed, and third behind Burrow and Lawrence. But we're gonna have more on this tomorrow. Of course, Finn's talk today. We'll obviously.
I might crash it.
Yeah, we might. Yeah, we'll have the three of us up on there maybe. But we'll do Finn's talk today. I'm going to update that episode. Obviously, where it's me and Fish Tank Hank. Finn Stanza may be joining us to continue our conversation. Of course, get Hank's opinion on that, and then we'll go from there. So, guys, we'll see you all tomorrow at noon. Until then, Finn's up.